The Swan Princess. There was once a king named William who ruled his mighty kingdom in sadness, for he had no child to inherit his throne. Then one joyful day, a daughter was born to him, a princess, and he called her Odette. Kings and queens came from all the land to bring gifts to the child. Among them were Queen Uberta and her young son, Prince Derek. When William and Uberta saw the prince and princess together, they decided that one day their children would marry and join their two kingdoms forever. Unbeknownst to all, a wicked plan was in the works. The evil enchanter Rothbart was plotting to conquer William's kingdom. But before he was able, the king's guards attacked him and banished him from the land. As Rothbart was carted away, he yelled,
"I'm not finished with you, Willie. Someday I'll get my power back, and then everything you own, everything you love, will be mine."
King William paid him no mind. Every summer, the king took his daughter to see Prince Derek, but neither of the children wanted any part of this union. Derek much preferred playing bow and arrows with his friend Bromley, until one summer, when Derek became engaged by Odette's beauty and announced, "Arrange the marriage." Odette replied, "Why do you want to marry me, Derek?" Surprised by this question, Derek could only answer, "Why? Because you're beautiful." "What else?" Odette questioned further. Derek sputtered nervously and said, What else is there?" Odette's smile fell to a frown, and she left the palace broken-hearted. As William and Odette rode away into the murky forest, Rothbart lurked, waiting.
"Today's the day, Willie. Everything you own, everything you love will be mine."
Then, in a burst of light, he transformed himself into a great animal. Soon after, Derek found one of William's guards, collapsed in a heap at his door.
"The king and princess have been attacked,"
the man said between breaths. Upon hearing his words, Derek took off frantically in search of Odette. Derek came upon the scene of the tragic attack, but only found the wounded king. "King William!" Derek exclaimed. "Who did this?" William winced in pain and said,
"A great animal,
but it's not what it seems." "What's not? Where is Odette?" Derek pleaded. The king whispered,
Odette is gone."
Deep in the forest, a sad but lovely swan was gliding upon a lake. But this was no ordinary swan. This was the Princess Odette. Rothbart stood over her and said,
"Don't let my spell make you sad, Odette. When the moonlight touches your wings on the lake each night, it will transform you back into a young woman. Then, when you agree to marry me, I will break the spell, and together we can rule your father's kingdom."
"Never!" Odette replied angrily. At her palace, Queen Uberta was arranging a grand ball where she would invite all the princesses in the land in hopes that Derek would take a bride. But Derek still believed Odette was alive. He pondered King William's last words, "It's not what it seems," until he finally realized what the king had meant. The great animal can take any form, even a mouse. "Now I can find you, Odette!" he exclaimed. He packed up his bow and arrows and set out to find his true love. While still Rothbart's prisoner, Odette managed to make some friends. JeanBob, a frog, a turtle named Speed, and a funny bird named Puffin looked after her and wanted to help break the evil spell.
"I've got it," Puffin announced one day. "We'll find the prince, lure him to the lake when the moon comes up, and as he approaches, you'll turn from a swan to a princess."
The next day, Odette and Puffin set out on the journey to find Derek. As a swan, Odette was able to fly alongside Puffin as they headed over the trees of the forest. Then, miraculously, she spotted him. "It's Derek! He's here!" she said excitedly, and flew swiftly down to him, her golden feathers shimmering in the sunlight. Derek backed away in fear, his bow and arrow poised for attack. "It's not what it seems," he muttered. "It could be the great animal." When Odette hovered still closer, Derek released his arrow in her direction, just as Puffin swooped down and knocked her from its deadly path. Odette knew she had to return to human form before she could again meet with Derek. "It's almost time, Odette," Puffin said as the moon began to rise. Odette flew into the night air to find Derek, but as she descended near him, praying for the moonlight to catch her wings, Derek fearfully lined up his arrow. Just as he was about to release it, the moonlight emerged from the clouds and shimmered over Odette's glistening wings. A magical sparkle swirled around the swan until she became the lovely princess that he knew. The two hugged joyfully. "I knew you were alive," Derek said. But then Odette heard Rothbart calling her from the distance.
"Odette!
"You can't stay here. He'll kill you."
Odette?
"Who?" Derek asked. "I am under his spell," she said. "When the moonlight leaves the lake, I will again be a swan." "But there must be a way to break the spell," he pleaded. "Yes, you must make a vow of everlasting love." Derek remembered the ball and said, "Tomorrow night, come to the palace, and I will make a vow of everlasting love to you before the whole world." Odette nodded, and Derek quickly left, leaving behind his bow and arrows. But Rothbart had overheard their plan, and when he found Derek's bow and arrows, he threw them into the lake. Then he locked Odette in his water dungeon.
"You'll never make it to the ball,"
he bellowed. Next, Rothbart magically transformed a hag into the spitting image of the princess and said,
"As Odette's look-alike, you'll go to the ball and get Derek to offer his vow to the wrong princess. When he does, Odette will die."
Then he laughed the wickedest of laughs. As Odette wept with despair, JeanBob and Speed dug furiously to widen a hole in the water dungeon wall. When it was finally big enough, Odette escaped. "Thank you," she called to them. But as she swam to the surface, alligators snapped after her. "Hurry, Odette!" Puffin yelled. Then Odette took off and flew with all her might to the palace. When she reached the ballroom window, she gasped, for she saw a strange woman dancing with her prince, and that woman looked just like her. Then Derek announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, today I found my bride!" Odette cried, "No, Derek, it's a trick!" But Derek gazed at the look-alike and said, "I vow everlasting love to Odette." Everyone cheered except Odette, who cried mournfully, her heart aching with sadness. Then suddenly, screams were heard as all the doors and windows of the ballroom flew open. The evil enchanter appeared in all his glory and scowled.
Pledged your love to another, eh?
"Another?" Derek said. "I vowed everlasting love to Odette."
No! Rothbart roared. You vowed everlasting death!
And he sprayed the look-alike with his magic, returning her to a hag. A horrified Derek then saw the swan flying weakly away from the palace. "Odette!" he yelled as he ran after her. Derek found a weak Odette lying near the lake. "What have I done to you?" he cried. "You must live. It's you that I love." Then he yelled, "Do you hear me, Rothbart? I made the vow for her!" Rothbart appeared, and in a flash became an enormous beast. "The great animal!" Derek exclaimed as he jumped to his feet. But the powerful beast flung Derek through the air. JeanBob and Speed remembered the bow and arrows and retrieved them from the lake where Rothbart had thrown them. They tossed them to Derek just as the beast was upon him. Derek readied and released an arrow straight into the beast, finally breaking the evil spell. The next day, Queen Uberta arranged the most extravagant wedding the kingdom ever witnessed. Bells rang as Derek and Odette emerged in their crowns. Puffin, JeanBob, and Speed watched happily as their friends were married. When Odette and Derek danced across the lawn of their new castle, she asked, "Will you love me, Derek, until the day I die?" Derek gazed down at her. "No, much longer than that, Odette." And they both smiled, for they knew their love would indeed last forever.